as someone who's also an avid nerd who's grown up loving all these different fandoms, whether it's superheroes or anything of the sort, for me, it's important to have representation for South Asians. Um, and so, yeah, it's just about fostering those conversations and building that community to really understand each other's struggles in how we are depicted on screen, and working to avoid more stereotypes being placed on characters of different identities and backgrounds.
Well, I'm known for hating Endgame, hating Tony Stark, loving Stucky, loving my boys, but hating what they did with his Jewishness, talking about the Jewish erasure in Marvel, all that shit, and noticing queer rep and disabled rep and Jewish rep and all of this jazz everywhere. I didn't start out with my Marvel stuff as a Jewish lens because I didn't like fully grasp the importance or anything.
Because I realized a lot of people were seeing my face, the turban and beard, and really not sure of what it means and probably too uncomfortable to ask questions. So I decided to start creating a space for them to ask questions without any fear of judgment or being offensive. I get hate from all kinds of people.
I do get a lot of anti-Semitic comments especially when I talk about Judaism.
Sometimes I have gotten comments about like my race, but not necessarily like directed towards my opinions. Sometimes I'll go on live and I'll just get like super stereotypical comments like, "Oh, I love curry woman," or "Oh my God, it's Mia Khalifa when I'm wearing my glasses," and it's like it has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. And
I get the Nazis, I get the anti-Semitism, I get people saying W Germany, like that just happens. People send nose emojis, people are like Jews rule the world, blah blah blah.
I also get hate from people from the West because they carry bigotry and racial prejudice within them. So um, people from the West will tell me to go back to my country, and then people from my own community, my own country, will say, "Well, you're not really Punjabi, you're not really Sikh." And I'm like, "Okay, so I'll just sit in the ocean, I guess."
I would say I've received negative comments just about my opinions. I mean, being an Eternals fan is already something that's like wildly unpopular since given the reception for that movie has not been the most positive.
Since I get a lot of the same comments, I laugh it off by wanting them to be more original and clever.
The ones that constantly tell me I look like the guy that's at the end of the day, that isn't that funny, is it? That's kind of like that's creative, okay?
So one that I really I didn't like it. I want to say I liked it, but it was just like, okay, there was some, was I was performing a poem, and so the comment said, "Wow, I waited until the end hoping he would blow up." It ended with like, "Oh, I was disappointed," and I was like, "Wow, at least you watched the whole video." I mean,
Or someone will say something as stupid as, shouldn't Moon Knight have been Hindu because Oscar Isaac is Indian and not made him Jewish? Like, what? What the hell kind of question? There is nothing correct in that sentence. Like,
sometimes it does get to me, and I do have to take breaks from social media a lot of the time. Like there'll be days, sometimes weeks, that I just don't create and barely even go on social media.
I usually delete the comments.
people twist my words and take it out of context and spread lies about me constantly, and it gives me really bad anxiety. And I've lost a couple of mutuals because of things like that. But everybody else, I explain what's going on, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, that's ridiculous." It took me a very long time to get here, though. It did. It did. Like I would take the hate comments personally, but a lot of the time it's because people spread lies about something that I said or took something that I said out of context.
Saying that I'm leaving parts out at the end. Let's just watch it.
Don't want y'all to get mad at me. I'm just telling you. I've been out of this. This is just what I saw. It's a lot of juice. Like a lot. But that didn't mean anything. You know what I mean? There's a lot of black people in Ferguson, Missouri. Doesn't mean we run the place.
The fact that he said it doesn't even mean anything means that he could have just omitted the entire thing point blank. If he really truly believed that a lot of Jews being in Hollywood doesn't mean anything, he wouldn't have put it in his video.
Ultimately, my goal at the end of the day is just to have a platform where I feel safe and I feel happy to express about anything as I watch, whether that be a movie or something related to like a fandom I'm part of.
Without proper representation, accurate representation, or even good representation, it can lead to a lot of, or it can contribute to the harm that different communities face. So I know I'm doing, or I believe I'm doing good based on the vast majority of positive responses I receive of people telling me they never knew about this thing or they never considered this perspective. And that's really what I'm just providing, in my opinion, is just a different perspective. And I love that, because that's like the whole point, is just to take our preconceived notions, our beliefs, our assumptions that we have about one another and completely, shatter them. For me, when someone comments saying, oh wow, I never thought about this, or I didn't know this, or I didn't look at it this way, that reminds me that like all the negativity I do get, which is nothing compared to the positivity I get, but it makes it worth it.
Everything Everywhere All at Once did listen. Jenny Slate's character was originally named Big Nose, and they changed it to Debbie the Dog Mom because they listened to Jewish fans who were upset about it. Listen to the groups affected by these marginalizations. If someone says, hey, this hurt me, fucking listen to them.
Something I would like to say to the world is be respectful and be kind, and please listen. Recognize when it's your place and recognize when to shut up. With more minority creators coming onto this space and discussing their experiences, I think it creates for overall a more positive space because you have people from all different backgrounds.
I hope that like people actually take other cultures and other experiences into consideration when they're creating the work that they do. I hope that people listen to those with marginalized identities because we're the ones affected by this.
I think meeting other creators who share the same values and perspectives as you is what really drives it forward and keeps the space a little bit more positive and less toxic.
I think if more people just looked at diversity in that way, as opposed to this like agenda or this sort of, one-sided, message or means of helping one group or select groups while hurting others, instead of looking at it like that and looking at it as a way for all of us to grow together, I think it would really, make the impact of diversity greater, but also help us as a human society do better.